We started in March of this year with a kickoff at the Palace, and we tried to put on the table a whole range of issues that we thought Stamford would be confronting in both now and in the years ahead. And then we took some of those issues through different lenses, one at a time. So in May, we had a meeting around what geography is Stamford part of beyond Stamford? What role does it play in the New York Metro? What role does it play in a larger Northeast corridor? And what needs to happen in the way of transportation infrastructure investment to expand those regional networks, and how could Stamford exploit those opportunities given the centrality of our location in the emerging economic geography? So that was the second session. We had a third session on 14 years of downtown placemaking with former Mayor Malloy presenting a combination of things. One was looking at two other cities, Portland and Cleveland, and painting a pretty stark picture of the kinds of choices cities have made, have to make, with clearly Portland, Oregon being the right answer to that question. And looking at a lot of before and after images of what's happened in Stamford over the last 14 years, and it's really seeing it one after another in that kind of dramatic way that you realize how much placemaking has been going on here for the last decade or so. And a little bit about where we go next, but I think the mayor was careful not to be too prescriptive on that, because he knew by then it wouldn't be him who would be leading the city, and I think did not want to step on the prerogatives of the next mayor. Then right after that, we had a meeting on education and the economy, looking at the opportunities presented by a new convergence between the needs of the economy and what the education system and our democracy has always been about, which is creating learners and critical thinkers and active citizens. But the economy for a long time, during the industrial era, was really quite content to have human robots, whether they had the badge of supervisor or frontline worker. They were basically following routinized jobs. That's all changing in every sector, at every level, and according to the data, especially on the front line, where the change towards more creative work on a percentage basis is happening even faster than higher level jobs, which have had a fair amount of creative content for a long time. So the question was, what needs to change in how we run our K-16 system to reflect this different need and to exploit a convergence between economic interest and education interests? Then we took the summer off. We came back in September and we had a meeting on the Green City. And to create some continuity with what had come before, we constructed a panel that included somebody who really represented the transportation voice, somebody who represented the place voice, and somebody who represented kind of the people voice, the human capital voice, the green jobs voice. And that was moderated by Kurt Spalding, who has since been named the New England Administrator for EPA. And then we met in the end of October. We had originally proposed to have this event then, but we felt it made sense at that point to say, where is all this going? What is all this conversation and information gathering? What has it led us to? And we convened the table leaders from the town meetings prior to that, who we've called the Reinventing Stamford stewards, and they really are the stewards, the owners of the initiative. They spend 2 or 3 hours before and after each meeting for every hour that somebody spends coming here, and so they've gotten very invested in the initiative and feel a sense of ownership of it. And we worked with that group to really try to say, what do we think at this point in time are the key conditions, and what are the opportunities in those conditions? What capabilities do we need to build to exploit those opportunities? And then we presented that work with some of the stewards in a panel, and then the small group discussion was looking at a preliminary list of projects that are already out there happening, and some others that we might add that in combination would create the capabilities we need to exploit the opportunities and the conditions. And we asked folks to look at that list and add projects, but with this filter. It should be building a capability to exploit an opportunity in one of these emerging conditions, not just any project, and you should be willing to lead the project. The latter tended to trim the list down considerably. So now that brings us to today, where we're looking at the creative city, and in a lot of ways, the creative city is simply the other side of the same coin of the green city, because a lot of our opportunities going forward to exercise our creativity are going to be around sustainability and resilience and building a green city in a green world, so that they're really not two separate things, they're just two ways of looking at the same thing. And this is the point in time where we're really trying to say, how do we create new jobs and new wealth by exploiting the opportunities in the emerging conditions? And when we break into small groups, we don't want to put any leash on you today. Any ideas are okay. And one of our presumptions is we have in this city the capabilities we need to succeed. We may have in this room the capabilities we need to succeed. You may have at your table the capabilities you need to succeed. And part of what we need to do through this whole process is to understand better what our capabilities are and what others are, and how those might be combined to exploit opportunities. And so whatever ideas you have are fair game. We're going to have you at the tail end of your conversation pause and say, you know, what are the 3 most interesting ones, and then we're going to go around in the last half hour, and every group's going to give one idea at a time. We'll go around the 17 tables. We may not even get through it twice, because there may not be more than 34 discrete ideas. So the idea is if the ideas on your list of 3 have already been mentioned, you can just pass. And then that will allow some time for a group discussion of those. I mean, it's possible that some new businesses may form today at these tables. You may hear of something at another table that interests you that you want to chase. That's good too. And this is, of course, just the beginning of an ongoing conversation. I know some people are bringing very specific ideas, and those will come back to us, and there are some ideas that we're going to present coming out of the panel.